Good evening. President Cyril Ramaphosa has signed the Divorce Amendment Bill into law, now allowing the Divorce Act to apply to the dissolution of Muslim marriages. The exclusion of marriages through Islamic law denied individuals, especially women, the ability to approach the courts for a divorce. Children resultant of these marriages are now also afforded protections to safeguard their interests. For more on this, we're now joined by I Seehaam Samaai. She's the director of Women's Legal Centre, and she joins us now via our video link. Seehaam, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. I mean, one would say and ask that it seems as if this is certainly good news for Muslim marriages.
Yes. Firstly, I mean, the amendment to the Divorce Act came after a very long struggle before the courts, and which we sought to bring legal recognition to Muslim marriages. And so this is one component of the declaration of illegality, the declaration of unconstitutionality of both the Marriages Act as well as the Divorce Act. And so the Constitutional Court, in the case of Women's Legal Centre versus the President and others, the issue that we had here was that Muslim marriages was a violation of the rights of Muslim women in South Africa, and it ordered that the legislation, which was the Marriages Act as well as the Divorce Act, to be amended. So one can say this is a two-stage approach. We do welcome the divorce amendments because, like we've said, it's been more than 8 years, and Muslim women could not divorce and or get any dissolution after that particular marriage. So what has happened now is that the signing in of the Divorce Act is an important step to uphold the Constitutional Court judgment. And it deals with issues of dissolution, it deals with the custody, contact and care of children. And one important issue is that you don't have to wait for a religious declaration of divorce to now assess, what is, the court is now empowered to ensure what is just and equitable in respect of the division of the property.
And Seehaam, perhaps
so there are other provisions.
Yeah.
Yes.
And perhaps maybe let's explain to our viewers and for clear understanding, and taking a step back here and looking at how this actually discriminated against women when they wanted a divorce, under Muslim law. How did that discriminate exactly against women?
Well, firstly, the provisions of just and equitable in the Divorce Act, now also applies to Muslim marriages. You can go to court, which previously was a major challenge. You could only go to the high courts, and now you can go to the divorce court to be able to actually get that particular dissolution, even if the partner is in a polygamous marriage. All of those are taken into account. One other provision, which is also very important, is the forfeiture of benefits, which means that you can go to court, and if you do believe that you have been not just discriminated against, but in the particular marriage, and that you can apply then for a forfeiture. And so those are all key issues that Muslim marriages never accessed. In addition to that, the family advocate is also a key role player in this divorce process, which means that they will look at the contact and care of children.
And looking at what this new law now does, this which has now been signed into law, how will it benefit women and how will it also benefit children?
Well, with regard to children, if you were just married in terms of Muslim rights and you get a talaq or fasak, it never goes to the family advocate. Now, when you do institute a divorce, those papers, like any other marriage, will have to go to the family advocate, and there they will be able to also look at the regulation of contact and care of children, and what is in the best interest of those particular children.
Why weren't the rights of women, recognized and protected, especially under, Muslim marriages?
Well, with regard to now, like I've said before, they can go to the divorce court, which is on a regional level, which means it's not a huge amount of cost to be able to do that. We also know that to obtain a Islamic divorce, sometimes women take years to be able to obtain that, which is a challenge. It was a challenge, and many women could not go to the High Court to be able to ensure that their property is dissolved. First, they have to ask for recognition, and then after the recognition, they could then dissolve that particular property. And so we are saying, yes, it can be done simultaneously, but now it's the court that decides, what is just and equitable, what was the decisions between the parties. And in addition to that, the most important for us is that if the partner, if the husband is in a polygamous marriage, that is also taken into account. Forfeiture in a Muslim marriage, which has not been recognized, would not be able to claim for forfeiture of benefit.
Yeah.
And we know that many women, Muslim women, supported the household. But we also know that in our society, which is patriarchal in nature, and sadly, the way the customs have evolved within Islamic marriages, which is not possibly Islamic, but has to be able to ensure that women and children are set in the forefront of decisions and what is just and equitable. They could never claim for forfeiture. They could never claim for just and equitable distribution. We do know that the men, more times than not in South Africa, and in particularly in Islamic marriages, own the property.
Yeah.
And so, and women contributed to the estate. How do we then ensure that there's justice and that there's an equitable distribution? And this is what the Divorce Act does.
How has this been received by the Muslim community, this new law?
Well, I mean, I do think at the end of the day, let's ask the women. I have not seen any issues raised by Muslim women. There has been the Al Jamaa party that was quite, that they are opposing this particular act. But we need to be able to see it as a win. We need to be able to see it as something, as a step towards broader recognition, because Parliament has also brought an urgent application to be able to ensure that the unconstitutionality does not kick in, because they filed the Marriages Act is regulated by Home Affairs, and the Divorce Act was regulated by the Department of Justice.
Okay.
So this component has gone through, and the state is now asking for an extension of 2 years to be able to ensure that they regulate the Marriages bill, which just came out in December the 13th. So I would say this is the next step, and this will deal with monogamous and polygamous marriages. It will deal with children and the consequences of child marriage. And I think the most important thing is that the unification of all marriages.
Ms. Samaai, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. News. That is Seehaam Samaai. She is the Director of Women's Legal Centre.